At 5:40 in Disko Bay, a fisherman kneels at the ice edge outside Ilulissat and pulls a halibut line from water almost black beneath the cut, each hook coming up into air cold enough to stiffen his gloves. At 11:20 in Nationscape, a family waits beside two duffel bags while the helicopter schedule changes again, the mountain cloud sitting too low for the red aircraft to leave. By 2 on a Nuuk quay, a forklift lifts groceries, timber, and heating fuel from a cargo boat before the harbour freezes hard enough to slow the next delivery. This is Nuuk, Greenland, the largest island on Earth that is not a continent, home to roughly 56,000 people, 4/5 of it buried under ice older than any country now bidding for influence here. It remains, for now, part of the Kingdom of Denmark, while American presidents talk about strategic control. Foreign companies map minerals under the ice, and Greenlandic families remember when outside authorities counted children and decided which births should happen. What follows is daily life on an island the world wants to own, where distance, weather, fish, language, and memory all decide the price of ground.
Nuuk is one of the smallest capitals attached to a national government anywhere, home to about 19,000 people, roughly 1 in 3 of everyone who lives in Greenland. It sits on a peninsula on the southwest coast, a spread of painted houses fixed to bare rock, winter streets climbing from the harbour, the ice sheet beyond the mountains at its back. From the road above the water, the scale of the country can almost be held in one glance. The frozen harbour, the trucks moving slowly below, the school children in heavy boots, the line of houses with their windows lit against the morning dark. At 7:30, in an apartment block above the old harbour, a father zips a child's snowsuit to the chin and checks the message from the school before they leave. Because even a normal morning depends on whether the road inside town has been cleared and whether the wind has packed snow against the doors. The distance between home, class, office, and quay is short enough to walk, but the cost of everything in the bag, the orange, the packet of oats, the spare mittens, the notebook, has already travelled farther than many people elsewhere travel in a year. It has come by ship, by plane, by weather window, and that makes the capital feel less like a centre of power than a small room where the whole country's arithmetic has been set on the table. For most of the outside world, Greenland is a question of what lies under the ice. In the south of the island lie large, undeveloped deposits of rare earth elements, the metals used in wind turbines, fighter jets, and the magnets inside electric cars. The world maps the island this way, in tons and grades and percentages. The 56,000 people who live above those deposits tend to map it differently, by family, by language, by the harbour where the fuel arrives, by the question of who decides what kind of country is being built here. That question went global in 2019, when Donald Trump proposed that the United States should buy Greenland from Denmark, the way it once bought Alaska from Russia in 1867. The offer returned, louder, after he took office a second time. The interest has little to do with real estate. Greenland sits across the shortest air route between North America and Russia, close enough that the United States has kept a base on the island since the Cold War, the radar and missile warning station now called Pituffik Space Base. As the sea ice retreats, new shipping lanes are opening to whoever can reach them first, along with the minerals beneath. Each time the question is put, the answer from Nuuk comes back in the language of ownership rather than diplomacy. Greenland's then premier, Mute Egede, said the island was not for sale, and that Greenlanders were not a commodity to be traded between capitals. The arithmetic behind that refusal is harder than the slogan. The road to it was opened slowly. Home Rule in 1979, won in part by politicians like Jonathan Motzfeldt, the catechist's son, who became Greenland's first premier, and then the Self-Rule Law of 2009, which gives the island the right to full independence whenever its people vote for it. What that law has not replaced is the money. Denmark sends an annual block grant of around 4 billion kroner, close to $500 million, covering roughly half of all public spending. The hospitals, the schools, the small airports, the routes between towns no road connects. Independence, on paper, is a vote away. In practice, it waits on a harder question. Who pays for the dialysis machines and the teacher salaries the morning after? So the decision sits, unresolved, in apartments above the harbour, where a kettle warms beside a stack of school books and a phone left on the table keeps the weather app open. The price of the island is argued in 3 capitals at once, in dollars and kroner and rare earth tonnage. Here it is reckoned differently, in the cost of heating oil brought in before the water closes, in whether the young people walking the winter streets find work that keeps them on this coast or a reason to leave it, in whether a nurse trained in Denmark comes home or takes a post where the next town is reachable by road. Demography gives the choice its pressure. More than a third of Greenlanders live in Nuuk now, while many settlements shrink as teenagers leave for school, training or work, and do not always return. In a country of 56,000 people, one family moving south, one teacher vacancy, one mechanic leaving a village workshop changes more than a statistic. It changes who can keep the lights on, who can run the boat, who can speak Greenlandic to the children who still need it spoken every day. In a smaller settlement farther up the coast, that arithmetic can be heard before it is seen. At 4:15, when the school day has ended and the light is already thinning, a teacher locks a classroom where the coats hang in a row shorter than it used to be. The youngest pupils know exactly which cousins have moved to Nuuk, which older siblings have gone to Denmark, which house will stay dark through the winter because the family inside has followed work south. A nation can be large enough to cover a map and small enough for absence to have an address. The boats down in the harbour will settle much of that. There is no road out of Nuuk, none out of any town in Greenland. And everything the country already is, and everything it hopes to become, still has to move by water, by air, and only when the weather grants permission.
Greenland covers more than 2 million square kilometers, an expanse close to the size of Western Europe. And across the whole of it, not one road connects a single town to the next. The longest stretches of asphalt stay inside settlements and end where the granite starts. Past the last house, there is only ice, water, or mountain, and the next town may sit hundreds of kilometers up the coast, with nothing between the two but fjord, skerry, and open sea. So the country moves the way the coast has always required, by boat and by air, and the weather keeps the timetable. A passenger ferry works the western shore through the open water months, calling at towns and settlements down the coast. The same boat carrying families, workers, students, boxes of food, and people going to hospital appointments that may have been booked around the sea as much as around the doctor. On the quay, cargo is unloaded in the same practical rhythm. Crates of groceries, building timber, sacks, spare parts, and winter fuel, all lifted from the ship into a country where the shelves, the classrooms, and the homes depend on what arrives before the ice or wind closes the route. In Sisimiut, a shop worker can know the cargo schedule as closely as the price tags, because a late container changes what sits on the shelf on Friday afternoon. Flour may be there, or it may not. Fresh fruit may arrive with bruises from the journey and still disappear quickly because children have been waiting for it. A replacement part for a snowmobile may spend days in transit before anyone can fix the machine that takes a hunter over the winter track. This is not inconvenience as a mood. It is the daily mechanics of a country where every object has a route behind it, and every route has a forecast attached. Air fills the gaps water cannot. Small planes link the regional airports, and helicopters reach settlements too small, too steep, or too weather-bound for any runway. Much of the aviation system has long depended on short strips, narrow operating windows, and forecasts that can erase a day with fog. New, longer runways are changing some of that, including Nuuk's expanded international runway, which opened in 2024 and makes direct jet travel more possible than it was before. But even a longer runway does not overrule a low cloud bank sitting in a fjord. In a settlement of a few hundred people on the edge of the ice, a man pulls his boots on in the doorway, his breath freezing the moment it leaves him. A bag packed at his feet for a flight the radio has already called doubtful. He does not hurry. The helicopter comes when the sky allows it. Today, tomorrow, or the day after. And everyone raised on this coast already knows the answer is the same. That the journey waits on the weather, and never the other way around. For a child walking to school through packed snow, this geography is not an abstraction. It is the reason cousins live close by phone and far by road. The reason a birthday visit can require a boat, a ticket, and a forecast. The reason a nation of 56,000 people can feel both intimate and impossibly spread out. The map shows one island. Daily life gives it as a chain of harbours. In Tasiilaq, on the east coast, where mountains rise sharply behind the houses and the weather can close in from the sea without warning, waiting is part of the local skill set. A grandmother folds laundry while listening for the helicopter, because a relative is meant to arrive from another settlement before evening. Children keep their boots near the door in case the plan changes. The pilot, the nurse, the teacher, the cousin with a suitcase, all of them are held for a few hours by the same low cloud over the same ridge. No one needs the delay explained. The country teaches patience by making impatience useless. Onto those same boats and into those same holds goes the one cargo this coast has always been able to count on. Hauled gold and silver from the very water that keeps the towns apart.
The fish hauled into those holds is, for the most part, one creature, the Greenland halibut, Kalaalleq, a deep-water flatfish taken from as far as 1,000 meters down on long lines that run for kilometers across the seabed, each line carrying hundreds of baited hooks set and pulled by hand. It is the quiet center of the whole economy. Fishing and its products account for more than 9/10 of everything Greenland sells abroad, and the halibut, alongside the cold water prawn, makes up most of that. Long before any mine is opened, this is the money the island already earns from its own water. In Disko Bay, on the central west coast,
The work has changed less than the politics around it. Through the deep winter, when the sea freezes hard enough to carry a sled, the fishermen go far out onto the ice, cut holes through it, and lower their long lines into the dark water beneath, returning a day or two later to haul the catch up by hand into air far below freezing. In the open water months, the same lines are worked from small boats. The halibut comes up cold and silver, and at the edge of the ice, a fisherman kneels over the catch, gutting and cleaning in the open, his hands gone red from the water, his breath leaving him in clouds. The work is old. By mid-morning, the fish has begun its second life on shore. In Ilulissat, workers in waterproof aprons rinse tables, stack tubs, and move the catch into a cold room, where the door opens and shuts with the steady rhythm of a tide. Someone weighs a box, someone sharpens a knife, someone writes a number on a label that will follow the fish much farther than the fisherman who pulled it from the water. The labor is repetitive, but not anonymous. A cousin may be on the boat, an aunt in the factory, a neighbor driving the forklift, and the money from that chain pays for groceries, fuel, school clothes, and the ticket south for a student who may or may not come home after training. This is one road to independence, and it is the one that already exists. It is also narrow. A country that earns 9 of every 10 export krona from fish lives at the mercy of one price and one resource, and the water itself is changing. The stocks shifting north and deeper as the sea warms. The fishermen of Disko Bay know the catch is good now. No one assumes it stays. They read the ice and the price together and plan the year around both. At home, the same fish becomes less like an export figure and more like dinner. A fillet is cut thin on a counter, a child reaches for a piece before it is fully served, and an older relative corrects the hand with a look rather than a speech. Food in Greenland carries the economy back to the table. Seal, fish, dried meat, coffee, cake, and imported pasta can sit within arm's reach of one another, the old subsistence and the expensive supermarket shelf sharing the same plate. It is not a museum version of tradition. It is what a household does when the sea is nearby, the shop is costly, and the next shipment has not yet come. Under the southern coast lies the other road. Near the town of Nuuk, the quay deposit holds one of the largest concentrations of rare earth elements anywhere outside China. And mixed through the same rock lies uranium. The promise is large, a single mine that could pay for much of the country at once. The cost is the dust and the radioactive tailings settling over the sheep farms and the town below. In 2021, the choice was put plainly. A national election turned almost entirely on whether the quay mine should go ahead. The party opposed to it won, and later that year, Parliament passed a law banning the mining of uranium, halting the project. The deposit is still there. The decision was made by the people who live above it, not by the companies that mapped it. Both roads run toward the same place, a country able to pay for itself and answer to no one for the bill. The right to weigh them at all, to say yes to the fish and not yet to the rock, is itself recent. There was a time within the memory of people still living when the decisions that shaped Greenlandic lives were made in Copenhagen by officials who had counted the population and concluded they knew better than the families being counted.
The withholding of that right is not ancient history, and its cost is still being added up. In 1951, 22 Greenlandic children, most of them around 6 years old, were taken from their families and sent to Denmark. The intention was to raise them as fluent Danish speakers and return them as a modern Greenlandic elite who would carry Danish language and Danish habits home. Some never returned at all. Those who did were placed in an orphanage in Nuuk, rather than given back to their parents. And after a year among strangers, a number of them could no longer speak Ilulissat. A child carried home to its mother could no longer find the word for her. Denmark offered a formal apology for the experiment only in 2020 to the 6 survivors who were still alive to receive it. What was done to the children was done on a far larger scale to the women. Through the 1960s and into the 1970s, under a program later remembered as the Spiralkampanjen, the Coil campaign, intrauterine devices were fitted in Greenlandic women and girls, some of them only 12 or 13, to bring down a birth rate the authorities in Copenhagen judged too high. Records indicate that as many as 4,500 women and girls were fitted, many without their knowledge and many without their consent, a number approaching half of all the women of childbearing age in Greenland at the time. Some were never told what had been done. Some understood only decades later why they had never been able to have children. The campaign was not openly spoken of for decades until a Danish radio investigation brought it into public view in 2022. Among the women who came forward was Naya Lieberth, who had been fitted with a device as a schoolgirl in the 1970s and who has since helped gather hundreds of others to demand an accounting from the Danish state. By 2023, more than 140 women had begun a claim for compensation. An inquiry into the whole program was opened. The women are still waiting for it to finish. These are not distant events. The children taken in 1951 are old now, and the women fitted as girls are alive to tell it. The same language a 6-year-old once lost on the way home is the language still spoken across kitchen tables in Nuuk, corrected at the sink, passed from one doorway to the next. It is around those tables, with the door left open, that a people once counted and re-engineered from outside has gone on quietly keeping itself.
By the time the light begins to thin over Nuuk harbour, the arguments over sovereignty have moved indoors. They are not always spoken as politics. They sit in the language a grandmother uses to correct a child at the sink, in the radio voice giving the forecast, in the way a guest is told to take another piece of cake before the next person arrives. Greenlandic is the official language of the country, spoken first in most homes, and in a capital of about 19,000 people, it gives the streets a scale that the map does not. A person can leave a government meeting, stop for groceries, and hear the same family names passing from one doorway to the next. The thing that holds the town together most visibly has no monument at all. When a life is marked in Greenland, whether a birthday, a confirmation, a child given its name, or a coffin carried from a house, a door is left open and word travels that there is a kafamik. No one sends a card and no one expects a reply. A table is laid with coffee and cake, often with dried fish and something hot from the stove. And through the afternoon, neighbors, colleagues, cousins, and half-strangers come and go, sitting where there is room, filling a cup and making space for the next person to arrive. A child's confirmation can fill a flat from morning until night, the confirmand moving from one well-wisher to the next, while cakes are replaced as fast as they are cleared. An old friend may stay 10 minutes, a cousin may stay 2 hours, and neither stay is rude. The length of the visit does not matter. The door has opened and the room has made room. In a country where towns are separated by water, ice, and weather, the table becomes a small piece of infrastructure, the place where news moves faster than the ferry, and where the nation can still feel close enough to touch. The food does some of the remembering. On one plate, there may be cake from a Danish recipe. On another, dried fish, seal, or mattak, cut into small pieces so guests can take what they want without ceremony. A teenager pours coffee for an older man before taking any for herself. Someone comes in wearing outdoor trousers dusted with snow, stays long enough to eat, and leaves for another house where another table is open. The movement looks casual only from outside. Inside, it is a map of obligations, kinship, jokes, grief, and news. All of it carried without a microphone or a meeting agenda. The clothes come out for those same occasions. A girl is dressed for her confirmation in white boots and a beaded collar that took a winter to sew. The sealskin and glass beads passed down or stitched by hand for the day. A grandmother knots the tie at the back, turns the child around, checks the fit. Then, the costume goes back in the drawer until the next name day. It is worn, folded away, and brought out again year after year, until the children wearing it stop thinking of it as anything but theirs. Outside the celebration, the landscape keeps pressing into the room. The window may show nothing more theatrical than a dark harbour
a snowbank cut by tire tracks, or the pale line of mountains across the water, but those details decide the evening, as surely as any law. If the wind rises, a guest leaves early to cross town before the road glazes. If a boat is expected, someone checks the phone between conversations. If the freezer is full, a portion can be sent home with an aunt. The country is never only outside the house. It is always coming in on boots, weather reports, food bags, and the smell of cold wool drying near the door. By late afternoon, the light over the harbour has gone the colour of pewter, and the rooms above the water begin to fill in the way they often do, not all at once, but by knocks, footsteps, and voices calling from the hall. A pot stays warm on the stove. A daughter comes home from school with snow on her cuffs. Somewhere on the stairs, there are boots being unlaced, and the coffee moves from hand to hand as if the table has been expecting the whole town in small installments.
By night, the three scenes that open the day have moved on without becoming finished. In Disko Bay, the halibut line sinks again under ice-dark water. In Tusilak, the helicopter schedule waits for a clearer morning. On the Nuuk quay, the last pallet has been hauled inland, and the harbour lights hold steady against the black water. The block grant is still close to half the budget. The fish is still the export that works. The Quanasuit deposit is still in the rock, mapped and unmined. While the independence vote waits for a future Greenlanders have not yet chosen to call. Across the coast, radios give tomorrow's forecast. The next boat is already being loaded.